I read somewhere people that are unemployed, that being unemployed is a epidemic.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about was what keeps people at their jobs. I'm always fascinated what motivates people, because it's something that I'm always fighting to is I'm fairly risk adverse in many ways. When I get comfortable in a job, I have a pretty good job, pretty good benefits. Of course, you could always get paid more. You can always make more money. That's always the number one complaint you hear from people, and also when they look at studies. But ultimately, I consider myself pretty lucky. When you look at employment numbers, there are plenty of people out there
that are jobless.
I try to always put a positive spin on things that, there are a lot of people that are jobless, homeless, haven't worked in a long time. I have friends that haven't worked in a long time, so I consider myself lucky.
Can I ask you about your friends that haven't worked in a while?
Yeah.
What do they think of it? Are they happy about it?
Well, they're definitely not happy about it.
Are they striving to find another job?
Well, that's a challenge. I don't want to give away his identity, but I have a friend of mine. He's a really good friend of mine, really good guy, but he struggled. He had a bit of a midlife crisis after he got laid off, and it was a long time ago. He hasn't worked in years and years. I can't even say the number. It's big. More than 6 or 7 years at least. He hasn't had a job. So he's lucky that he has a family that is able to help him out and support him. But I always feel like it's a sore point to discuss it with him, because obviously he knows he's probably feeling some sense of inadequacy that he hasn't been working. But he kind of just shut down mentally about it.
After he got laid off.
Yeah, and he had a bit of this midlife crisis. There were a bunch of things. It's complicated, and he hasn't worked, but now he's finally looking for another job now because he has to. He had I think I should just preface this and say that he also had money saved up, and he got a ton of money from the government because he had not done taxes in a long time. The government actually owed him quite a bit of money, so he lived on that for
after he got laid off, or while he was working.
Yeah, after he got laid off, he actually had been many years since he had done his taxes, and they owed him a lot of money, so he lived off of that for a long time. Realistically, he should have had a job. He should have been looking for another job. I don't know. I'm just thinking
6 to 7 years of not working and not attempting to put himself out there to find another job. Was he just content with not working? Because if you're content with not working and you're already getting government money and
that's a fair point,
right?
Fair point.
If he's just content with just staying at home, and which I don't think I'd ever be able to do that personally.
But I don't know. I really haven't had in-depth conversations with him, but of course it's easy to judge someone and say, oh, these people, these types of, I'll just generalize, these types of people that live off of government money or live off the goodness of others, they're just lazy, shiftless bastards that are just living off the system, taking advantage of the system. But also there are other things going on, because, if someone's suffering from chronic depression, if they have anxiety, maybe they have other more serious mental illness,
physical
illness, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem where they can't actually keep jobs.
Right.
And he's had a long history of that too, where he will work for a while. He'll work for 3-4 years, get laid off, not work for 5 years, then get another job, then work for 3 years, then not work for another 5 years. This is a pattern.
Is he always getting laid off? Is that how it ends every single time?
Yeah, he's done a lot of jobs where it had nothing to do with him. It was because, and he's done a lot of these types of
being laid off is different than
construction jobs where
there's
for whatever.
a difference between getting fired and being laid off. Because laid off, there might just be downsizing in the company, and they just need to get rid of employees.
He always told me that he was just getting laid off because there wasn't any work.
Well, do you know he's getting laid off?
That's what he's
saying. I mean, you don't know, right?
That's what he's saying.
I mean, if you're gonna try to save face, if you're gonna try to make it seem like it's not in your hands, you're gonna tell people you got laid off.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm not calling your friend out. I'm just saying. I mean, if it happens to be he's getting laid off every single time, there's a bit of something murky in the waters there. But
Yeah, I'm always fascinated though, because I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit about what keeps people motivated in jobs, and when do you tell yourself it's time to move on? Because I think
Well,
the reality is a lot of people get stuck in jobs, they become complacent, they're not happy for whatever reason, but it's a paycheck, and it's hard sometimes trying to step out into the world and put the feelers out there and to try to take a risk and say, I'm going to move on, I'm going to do something else, I'm going to go to another company. You don't know if that next job is that uncertainty factor. Is that
Well-
job going to work out? Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, so you don't know if it's going to work out.
okay, can I give you my situation?
Yeah.
So I'm pursuing a master's in counseling
Right.
to become a therapist, right?
Yeah.
So that's my end. That's my end goal, right? That's the vision I have. The finish line is me getting my certification and start practicing on my own and
Right.
having my own business, my own practice, right? My own private practice. So the job I'm in right now is social work. It's outreach work, right?
Yeah. It's
I think-
noble profession.
Right. And I think of it as it's a job that I have. It's I have a job. I'm getting paid. I'm
Right.
getting paid for it. Might not be a lot. Might not be as much as other social work
Yeah.
jobs. But I use it as a harpoon to enhance my counseling skills, because a lot of the work with clients is directly relevant to
Right.
counseling work, right? When I work with clients and I meet up with them and we have our session and we talk about it, there's a lot of reflecting, echoing, active listening, right? So I see it as I'm getting my repetitions in, and with the other things, the other aspects of the job where it could be mildly annoying, I just have to put up with it. And I was talking to my friend, man, he was just saying every job in the world, whatever it is, whatever industry and nonprofit or whatever, it's always going to be mildly annoying in some way.
Oh, it's
whether
never
it's
perfect.
whether it's about
It's never perfect.
whether it's or just about, a coworker or tasks that you feel like you shouldn't be doing or
Yeah.
isn't in your scope of responsibility as the in the role you're in,
Sure.
right? It's never just going to be smooth sailing in any facet. At some point there's going to be some mildly annoying shit that just is just going to make you think, God damn it, I hate this job, I need to move. But then
Yeah, and
I
that
don't know.
and that friction could come from many different places. It could be from someone you report to. Maybe you don't like them very much. Could be from a client. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe that person's difficult. Maybe they don't respect the process, or they're kind of there under false pretenses. They don't really want to get better, right? There could be all sorts of different factors. That's very true in any job. You're always going to find that. But I guess the real reason is, and I guess my question
the
for you is,
politicking,
yeah,
there's
all
different
that, all that.
politics
But
going
the question
on.
is, why do you want to do that job? What motivates you?
Well, the job I'm in right now,
Yeah.
I
said it was-
like the job.
And you
because
said it's a stepping stone.
it's a stepping stone. It's
Right.
100% a stepping stone.
So you want to help, but you're obviously that job is really about getting inside people's heads and helping them,
learning and
creating a path to helping them
yeah.
become a better person, right?
Refining my
is
skills.
that why
Yeah.
you're doing it?
Yeah, polishing my core counseling skills, right? And I think I've been very transparent with my employer, and I've told him this is a job that is a stepping stone, and he knows that too. This is a job that is a
Yeah.
stepping stone, and I see it as a bunch of practice sessions for my career. And I mean,
Do they know that you are a very public person in the sense that you do this podcast,
do
you
know. They
interview
do know.
people, you're on social media,
Yeah.
like they know you're a public
Yeah.
person.
I had to
Yeah.
I brought it out into the light after my probation
Yeah.
period, though, just so
Yeah. What do they think about that?
it's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it's whatever. I mean,
So they're supportive.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gung ho. Yeah, keep
Excited about
when's
it.
the next episode?
But they don't
bro?
have an issue with it.
They don't have an issue.
Because I can
with it.
see how that would be a bit of an issue sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
You
mean,
know, because you know the line of work that you're doing.
still though, man, a lot of the things that we talk about on this podcast, just the clips that we've put out, there's nothing I've never thought till this day. I don't think there's ever been a clip where it wouldn't umbrella every human experience.
Sure. That's fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Even the sex stuff, the edgy stuff,
Yeah.
those are things that everyone potentially will encounter at one point or another in their lives.
Yeah, of course.
So talking about it publicly, I never found it to be that big of a problem. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, dude, I think it's just it's scary. I mean, it's scary to just uproot your job and put yourself out there.
That is.
Because, dude, I will say being unemployed, and I will say the reason why. Let's say I hate this job. Let's say I hated every bit of it. Hypothetically speaking, I hated it. I despised the people I worked with. Hated every moment being in the office. I would rather have that than stay at home and do nothing, because that is
totally agree.
Devastating.
I've had long bouts of depression and of just like being unemployed, and the longer I was unemployed, the more and more deep I got into
It's
that.
bad.
Like I let it go for so long, where I felt like I can't dig myself out of this hole. Nobody wants me. I'm worthless. I started getting in my own head. I don't have any skills. I don't have anything to offer. I have no value. Right. And it was hard.
When you start getting rejected by a bunch of places, you start second guessing yourself, self-deprecating talk, all that shit.
Exactly. And I got into a really deep funk, and it took me a while to get out of it. And I kind of reset myself in a way, because I had worked in tech for like 15 years, and I decided to just go back to school. I'm going to go get an education, do something else with my life, change careers, did something a little bit different. So, and sometimes you just need that reset. Like, I feel like sometimes you almost need to hit rock bottom in a way to realize what you actually need to do. I'm not saying that everybody should. I wouldn't recommend it, but sometimes that needs to happen for somebody to snap out of it and go, "Oh, wait, I'm actually wasting my life."
I think
you need to ask yourself, what brings you happiness, right? And I was not clear. Clearly, I was burnt out working in tech. I was not happy doing what I was doing. I'm making maybe a little less money, but I'm happier doing what I feel more fulfilled doing it. So,
yeah, no, I agree, man. I think a fast track to hitting rock bottom is being unemployed for a longer period of time. It's bad, man.
Yeah,
especially when you see your peers,
everyone passing you by.
Yeah,
it's like a train.
Well,
when you see all your friends, it's like that train going by really fast, and you're like, well, I'm screwed.
Well, you can't really even do anything with the people around you because they're all at work during the day, right?
Yeah.
So you're just stuck at home, not doing anything, thinking. And I hate people that are always like, "Oh, just find a new skill, learn a new language, learn how to cook." Oh, no, I get the sentiment. I understand.
And then you become, when you're unemployed too, you become that annoying asshole friend that, you know, calls up your buddy in the middle of the week. "Hey, let's do something." I'm like, "Dude, I'm at work." I can't do anything.
Hey, man. Like, some people are working, man.
Yeah, you want to do something right now? 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, I'm at work. I can't go. What are you talking about? Yeah. You know, you become that annoying friend when you're unemployed for too long.
It's interesting, though, when I have a friend. Well, I'm not going to say anything, but
yeah,
I know someone that currently, it's weird. He works, but he doesn't work. It's shift work. It's contract work, basically. So he can go weeks without not working.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people that do that and that make good money doing that. Yeah.
So it'll be a random Thursday afternoon at 1, and he'll be at golf, and I'll say to him, "Wow, man, you're really living the dream." Because in that moment, I would do anything to be at golf and on the
because he's got a flexibility and freedom to his life that you don't have. But yours is rigid.
But his work is very unpredictable, so he might not be able to get work for
Yeah.
however
Well, that's kind of scary too.
it is scary. So it's very shaky. There's a lot of uncertainty with his work. So it's not as if he's in the clear either.
Right.
He just kind of goes.
See, that's
with the
what
flow.
we all want is the flexibility to set our own hours,
Yeah.
but still have the certainty of money coming in all the time.
And that's
which is really hard to do.
right. And that's what I love about therapy, man. I mean, I make my own hours. I have the amount of clients I want during a week, during the day.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, if you can have
travel anywhere. I mean,
if you can help people, have your own practice, set your hours, say yes, have the privilege to say yes or no to certain things. That's the ultimate that everybody really wants, right? But unfortunately, and also certain lines of work where you can't do that. Certain industries where you just your schedule is going to be rigid.
Right. Well, there's a catch. I feel like with everything, what I just told you about how I can set my own time and clients, it sounds very promising. But there's a catch to everything. So the catch with this would be hearing some really, really hard shit and really having to be present and actively and consciously listening to the client.
But you're trained to compartmentalize. I imagine
We are.
I mean, maybe you could tell
trained.
the viewers like
how
does that work exactly? In training to become a therapist, what kind of skills do you learn to cope with? Because you don't want to bring your work home with you, honestly.
Right. So a lot of things that we're learning right now. I mean, the first semester of my schooling, the biggest thing we learned was transference and countertransference. So countertransference is when the therapist. So if I'm your therapist, you'll say something to me where you say, "Oh man, my girlfriend cheated on me." And I get an emotional reaction because I can relate to it. And there's something in my life, there's a bias in my life that gets me activated. Or you talk about something about your relationship with your mom or your friend, and that's something I can relate to, I resonate with, and it gives me an emotional trigger, right? That's countertransference. And then how I respond to you and how I navigate the therapeutic alliance is heavily dependent on the countertransfers that I'm feeling.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So for example, if one of my client, if a client of mine is a female, is a woman, and they tell me that they cheated on their husband multiple times and the husband doesn't know. Personally, as one of my values and one of the things that really gets to me and honestly pisses me off is when people cheat and they don't tell their partner that they've cheated and they've been unfaithful for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
But I need to be completely neutral and non-reactive in that situation, right? So if a client was to tell me that, I cannot show in any way that I'm pissed off, triggered, or in any way judging them about it. So I just have to be completely neutral and stoic and respond and respond in a way that's therapeutic for the client.
Right.
Right. So that's countertransference.
Okay.
So it's a lot of self-reflecting and looking internally and finding these little triggers and moments of activation. And then transference is when a client has those feelings about me. Right. So
I follow you.
Something about, so if I'm
let me
so
ask.
if I'm your hold on,
Okay,
if I'm your therapist, let's say you've had a bad experience with Persian people, Persian guys, right? Let's say you got jumped by a bunch of Persian guys at some point. I'm a Persian guy. I'm your therapist.
Yeah.
There's a bit of
tension there.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the transference.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
We learn a lot about. I mean, that was, I would say, the main theme throughout my first semester.
Okay.
So, and throughout this whole program, we're encouraged to continue to just, to be curious. Be curious about those moments where we do feel transference and those. So.
Let me ask you a question. If I said to you, I'm your client, and I say to you, and maybe this is paranoia, but I have this thing that really bothers me when I'm at work. If I see coworkers talking amongst themselves, kind of whispering, I assume they're talking about me and saying something behind my back. I have this like paranoid feeling in my brain that everybody's talking about me behind my back, and I can't shake that. What do I do? What does that mean?
Okay. You want me to,
what does that say
are we
about
getting
me?
into
No,
it?
I'm serious.
Okay.
This is actually
All
a
right.
thing. Like,
so
I
look,
feel.
no, I want to help you. What about it gives you paranoia?
Because it makes me feel like kind of like I feel like it sort of undermines me as a coworker. That maybe because I feel like I feel very confident in my job that I'm good at what I do, and that's that's just reinforced by my output of what I put into the world. That's reinforced by all of my positive performance reviews that I get. But I feel like it's still somewhat, when I hear this, I feel like it undermines my, like, it almost like it breaks down my, what's the word that I'm looking for? It kind of undermines my ability or my feeling of, I'm having a hard time articulating this. It makes me feel like I'm insufficient. Like I'm not really good at my job. Like, am I not really good at my job?
So
Is there, what are they saying behind my back? What are they?
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you do get positive reviews.
I do.
And there are
like the work that I do shows.
there's clear evidence.
There's
that
evidence
you are,
that I am a good.
that you are a good
yeah.
worker, and you've performed above and beyond.
And my boss says so. I am one of the top performers.
You're one of the
top
top
He flat out
performers.
says that. But when I hear this, though, it still makes me feel like kind of small and inadequate. They're probably not saying anything. They're probably talking about other people. But when I hear this, that part of me, that part of my brain always says they're talking about you. And they're saying something like they don't like your personality. They don't like whatever it is. There's something about you that they don't like.
When you say you can hear them, you initially said that they're whispering. So can you hear them?
Well, I can sort of hear, like they're far away. Let's say they're on the other side of the. I can see them, but they're like 25 feet away. So it's hard to hear what people are saying, and they're probably not talking about me. But it makes me feel like they are, and so it makes me wonder. Well, what are they saying about me? Is it something that I said? Is it something that I do? Maybe I have some weird quirk or behavior they don't like, that they're making fun of it. You know, just kind of like that's where my brain goes to, that they're making fun of me, because I just want to be liked ultimately and accepted by people. And sometimes when I see that, I just feel like, what are they? Well, why are we being so secretive here? Okay. What's going on?
So when you see two people talking 25 feet away, and they're not talking to you, they're talking amongst themselves.
Yeah.
You think that they're outcasting you in a way?
I feel like they're like is whatever it is, I'm the subject, somehow the subject of the conversation.
Mm.
And I'm sure it's totally irrational. Because if they really wanted to say something behind my back, they probably wouldn't do it with me visible there. They would probably like wait till I'm not working that day and say it, right? So I'm sure it's irrational. Like at least there's a part of me that understands and recognizes this is irrational, but then the other part of my brain is that irrational feeling. And so like I understand it, but I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how to get rid of that feeling that, you know, that they're somehow.
And that feeling is paranoia.
Yeah, it's that I have this immense paranoia that people are talking about me.
Is it just paranoia, or are there other feelings behind that? Is there a feeling of being left out?
Totally being left out. Yeah.
What are you being left out of?
I don't know. Probably stems. You know what? Probably stems from when I was a kid, because I was always a bit of a loner in class. Like I had friends and everything like that, but I wasn't one of the popular kids. And I always felt like I always had a hard time involving myself in groups of people. So anytime we would do, and even in class activities and stuff like that, you know, a lot of times your teacher would say, okay, everybody pair up. We're going to do this exercise, right? And everyone kind of had
their own. They knew or they already knew
yeah,
prior to who
yeah.
they were
And
gonna
I'm
go
like,
with.
I'm like the one asshole in the corner. The teacher has to go, well, somebody please take Alex, you know, like I just felt left out all the time. Probably stems back to that. I would imagine. That's my thinking.
So the
Being left out.
feeling
I
of
don't like
being
feeling
left
left
out.
out of conversation.
I'm not
like I'm not
I'm not
important.
good enough. I'm
yeah,
not
like
I'm not worthy to be a part of this conversation.
Like,
or
what's
whatever
so
it is.
important that you can't just say it to people to their face? Why are we being secretive here? Like I don't like. Yeah, I just don't like when people kind of just like have their own cliques and they're doing their thing and they don't involve people. Like it really bothers me.
So every conversation that's happening in work, whether you're involved or not, you want to be in.
I think
you
you know,
ultimately want to be involved in every conversation.
Yeah, I think it's not even just work. I think in any social situation, it bothers me. Like when I feel like I don't fit in, it really gets to me. Really gets to me.
Well, let me ask you.
I don't like feeling like an outsider.
Well, let me ask you the people that you saw talking to each other 25 feet away, and you weren't part of that conversation. Have those individuals spoke to you before?
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of times I'll walk over and I'll kind of like eavesdrop, and then I'll get involved in the conversation. And every time I've gotten involved, they were like talking about some customer, or they were talking about something that just had nothing to do with even work. It never had anything to do. But I would interject. And so I know it's paranoia. I know it's irrationality.
Yeah, it's that worry. It's that fear that they are talking about you negatively in a negative light. And
I think what makes it worse too, because I remember in school when I would try to pair up with people, it was especially like felt like sticking the knife in when, you know, a girl would be like, "Oh, I already found a partner. Thanks."
Oh yeah.
It's like,
dude, yeah, it was. I hated that when teachers were like, okay, pair up. Everyone's like, Jimmy, Dan, you want to be Jimmy? Where's Steven? And I'm just sitting there like
it drives
idiot.
me crazy.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I was a teacher, because I know that's an issue with kids, that they're going to stick to their own friends and their cliques. I think it's actually better if teachers choose the partners. Let's just like make it random. Like just make it random.
Yeah.
Like whoever's sitting right next to you, that's your partner. Like just choose for people.
Teachers are setting up kids to feel shitty by doing that every single time. Pick your own partners.
Totally.
They're just lazy, man.
It's laziness, and what they don't realize is that it's really damaging to people's psyches when they feel like they're left out.
It's really it'll mess.
Look at me, I'm a screwed up adult.
So let me ask you though. Let's think of the worst case scenario. Let's say they are talking shitty about you and talking about how terrible of a worker you are, how weird of a person.
Could be about anything.
It could be. Let's talk about let's take it to the extreme and say they are talking about those things and what you are thinking is real. Would you still want to be a part of that conversation? Because I'm just trying to think, like, do you still want to be included while they're talking about those?
I prefer transparency in any kind of work environment. So if you have a problem with me, I'd rather you just tell it straight to my face. Don't go behind my back. Okay. Don't hide it, especially. Be honest with me. Let's have a conversation. Because if I have a problem with you, I sure as shit I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to go straight up to you and say, let's have a conversation.
And by not doing that and doing it,
some people feel, I think part of the problem is, especially in workplace environments, is that especially if you are not on an equal playing field in terms of your
position,
status in the company. So if your boss, if you have a problem with your boss, are you going to go straight to your boss's face and tell him and be honest with him about something that he did that bother you?
You could.
You could. Maybe you are that kind of person, but an overwhelming majority of people are never going to say anything. They're not going to say anything, and that's why some companies, one previous company I worked for, they had a anonymous feedback system where you could be open and honest and not fear that somebody was going to know that you said something, but you could post feedback about somebody, anybody in the company, even the CEO. You could say something that you didn't like and they would never know. And so the reason why a lot of companies do this is because a lot of people are not honest, or they're just they fear they fear their boss, or they're intimidated by their boss. There's all sorts of reasons for that, right? But I'd rather be honest with people. I like having these conversations.
Okay, so I'm just trying to. Okay, I'm just trying to go back to your situation. So you would rather have the person that's whispering to another person to come up to you and really be honest and
just address it
and address it if
Yes.
they were talking negatively about you.
Yes.
But the fact that they're not doing that and they're doing it 25 feet away where you can't hear anything, would you say
It's very high school. It's very immature to me.
What's immature about it?
Because we're fucking adults. We deal with our problems. If you have a problem, go and talk to somebody about it. You know, it's like the problem that I have too with communication in general is now there's an over reliance on technology. We try to hide behind technology because we don't have the balls to go up to somebody and tell somebody we have a problem. Right? Could be like a relationship. Let's say you want to break up with someone. Breaking up with someone over text is not appropriate. I wouldn't even do it over a phone call. I've made these mistakes when I was younger. Everybody has, but I just feel like if something is serious that needs to be addressed, do it in person and tell it to their face. Don't hide behind a text message. You know, do it in person and tell. The problem too is if someone has a repeated behavior, whatever that repeated behavior is, whatever it is that's eating away at you, that's bothering you. How do they're probably not even aware.
I kind of want to challenge you on that though.
Okay.
Breaking up with someone over text or a phone call. Inherently, what's wrong with that?
It's impersonal because it's easier. I feel like it's easier to do. Even honestly, a phone call, a lot of people don't want to do that. I would much rather have a phone call, but people get nervous about taking phone calls, about being on the phone, about talking to people. People don't want to do that anymore for anything serious. And I just feel like there's certain things that need to be communicated that should be done.
No, I'm with you, and I prefer phone calls rather than texting because it's just there's a human side to it, and
well, also you can misinterpret
things
emails
based on
too.
someone's tone and demeanor,
absolutely,
and intent behind what they're saying. I understand that, but when it comes to breaking up with someone and ending a relationship, and you can say it's a form of respect to do it in person or over the phone.
You don't think it is?
I just think of it as you are essentially telling this person that you want to go on with the rest of your life without them being a part of your life. You want to take them out of your life. Does that necessarily prompt a phone call or a in-person meeting about it?
I think a relationship with someone, I feel like there are do's and don'ts of a relationship, and I feel like if you're going to end a relationship, then you should do it in person, you know, if you can.
What about a working relationship?
Okay.
Let's say me and you.
Yeah.
Let's think of it as you want to stop working with me for whatever reason. You got a better job in Ontario and you need to move.
Right.
Yeah, I will say that after working together for so long and how consistent we've been the past several years.
Yeah. 4 years now.
I would expect at least an in-person.
Exactly.
Hey Mo, we need to talk.
Don't you think you'd be a little hurt if I just sent you a text message say, "Hey, see ya"? Don't you think I would at least owe you the courtesy of a in-person, let's go out to dinner and then break the news there?
But it also depends on how it's ending though. If it ends really bitter for whatever reason where, let's say, I don't pay you, you know, I've completely lowballed you in the payments, and I'm just consistently late and at times sending you less than the amount that I'm supposed to, and you're just completely fed up with it. You've got into your boiling point, and you think to yourself,
that's a bit
Mo
different.
doesn't deserve
That's
an
a bit.
in-person.
I think
I'm
that's a different circumstance.
This is a severance of
yeah.
in every
Yeah.
capacity.
Well, you might be ghosting me anyway. So at that point, in that example, that your hypothetical example you're giving me, you might not even want to meet me.
Right.
You might be too embarrassed to meet me in person.
And that's the thing, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking of a relationship too. If one partner ends up cheating, I don't even want to give them the courtesy of meeting up in person. You don't deserve.
Yeah.
You don't deserve my time. You don't deserve. I don't want to go out of my way to give you my time to meet with you in person after you've done such an awful thing to me. You don't even deserve that. I'm just not even gonna say anything. I'm just gonna block you. I don't even need to give you a disclosure or a closure statement of any sorts.
Yeah.
It's just really dependent on the situation and the context of how it's ending and
Yeah.
the tone.
Okay, I feel like we veered quite quite a bit away though too from.
It's good though.
So
it's good talk.
I like that, but
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to my specific irrational and paranoia feeling that I get at work when I think people are talking about me. So like, what kind of strategies would you suggest?
So when you see two people talking 25 feet away,
yeah.
the thoughts are these people are talking shit about me.
Yeah.
They're talking about how weird.
Yeah, talking shit would be a good way to put it.
They're talking shit.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
And the talking shit is Alex is not good at his job. He's a weird guy. He's a piece of shit.
I could come up with a list of things that I think people are talking about, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, I feel like.
And then what do you feel in your body, or is it just all in your head?
It's just all in my head. It's no physical feeling. It's just thought. They're just thoughts. I don't like it. Rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like whispering in general. You got something to say? Say it. Don't be all trying to be stealthy about it. It's like, what are we doing here?
Has there been evidence before that when people are whispering to each other, they are talking shit about you?
No. It's always about somebody else, not me. And actually, it's funny on that subject of talking shit. I have heard employees talk shit about other people, upper management, people they report to when they're not there, which I really feel like that's just like a cowardly thing. I don't like gossip. Like, I don't like office gossip. And I just feel like if you have a problem with someone, address it with them directly. I just wish everybody could address problems with, like, don't insult people when they're not there. That's cowardly. Anybody could do that.
It's completely disrespectful to do that.
Yeah.
And by
I think so.
And by you seeing and by you hearing these people talk shit about other people, you say to yourself that since these people can talk shit so easily about
that's
these
exactly
other people,
where I'm going with this. If they're talking about they could be talking about me for all I know. Yeah, maybe it's not that far fetched. If they're willing to do that with other people that they work with, maybe they would have something to say about me. Which is why I don't like that. Just address it.
What don't you like about it?
I just feel that it's cowardly. I just feel like if you have a problem, you should go and talk to that person. Talking about it behind their back doesn't fix the problem. It just gives you something to moan and complain about and sound like a whiny person.
So you want people to be real honest with
yes.
you. You want people to come up to you
yes.
and tell
Is that
you
so
that
hard?
you're not doing your job well.
Yeah.
That they don't like you.
Or whatever it is. Sometimes, without giving specifics, the person that I report to, there's been a couple of instances where they did something where I just felt like it was inappropriate and it made me feel really, really stupid and kind of undermined me in a way. And I just straight up I went to him and I had this conversation with him and he said, you know what? I had no idea that was the impact that I had when I said that. And he said, you're right. And I apologize. And he apologized and he never did it again. And this is what I'm saying. Is if we just have these conversations with people we also give them an opportunity to actually learn a little bit about like that we're here to do our jobs, but we can't do our jobs well if this isn't a two-way street. Right? It takes two to tango.
okay.
Like it needs the feedback needs to be reciprocal. Like we need to give each other feedback, because if I don't know that you're hurting inside because of something I'm doing to you, that's not good. And in fact, especially as an employer or whatever, if I'm in a higher position than you, it's to my benefit that people that I'm managing are happy. But if they don't tell me they're happy, eventually that actually is going to end up hurting me, and it's going to hurt the company, because they're either going to keep it inside and they're going to bottle it up and they're going to become bitter and really bad at their jobs. And worst case, I have to fire them.
Okay, so it goes deeper than emotion.
It goes way deeper.
It gets into performance and
the whole thing is like a domino effect. Everything falls apart in a company when people don't do a good job. And I had a conversation with somebody, I forget his name, and I apologize. He's written many business books, pretty well known in the industry. And, one of the things that he says is that, every company, you've got your A players, you got your B players, your C players, your D players, right? What's the number one reason why an A player leaves a company? It's because of those other people that are C players and D players. It's those underperforming people that make it fucking miserable to work there, right? So you got to fix that first. But how can you fix it if they don't tell you? Maybe it's they're underperforming because the relationship that they have with you. Maybe it's something that you're doing and you don't even realize it. Maybe you're not so perfect at your job. Maybe you don't know how to manage people. Maybe your tactics aren't right. You got to adjust. One of the things you learn, I've taken many courses on business, and one of the things I've tried to learn, and I'm still not perfect, is how you have to adjust yourself. And one of my mentors taught me this is, when you're hiring somebody, one of the things that you can say to people is, what do you expect out of your manager? And it always throws people off, because nobody expects a person in a position of power to actually throw the ball back to them and say, what do you want to see in me? I think that's a real honest question to ask somebody.
So we're getting into a place of, by them not being honest with you and being straightforward to your face and transparent, it's affecting your role and your responsibilities as the manager. So it's playing off of each other now.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like it is undermining in a way of a person's authority.
So by them not disclosing whatever they're talking about, whether it is about you or not, is indirectly, I think, impacting your ability and your performance as the manager of that sector.
I don't think it just falls on me. I think it affects it affects the health of the organization, because I look at companies as like a living, breathing entity, that there's a lot of moving parts. Everyone plays a role, but I look at it like a kind of this holistic approach of like a living entity. And if any, like, think about it like even your body. I'll use an analogy like the human body. Say the microbiome in your gut. You have a lot of bacteria. There's good bacteria in there, and all of it lives in harmony together to create this ecosystem. And so when one or more of these little things, these objects, are not working properly in harmony together, then the whole system starts to break apart. And it's like that with companies. This is why I like open communication with people.
And you feel like you're shouldering all the whole company's.
No, I don't. But I also feel like I don't like hiding. I don't like hiding secrets behind people. So I also feel obligated when I hear stuff like that.
But you said it's a sum of all the parts.
It is.
And you're just one of the parts.
Yeah, I am just one of. It's definitely not just me. I will usually, if I hear somebody talking behind another person's back, I'll usually just go and talk to them and say, just so you know, this is happening.
So you burden the responsibility of other people's performance when there
Well,
are.
I also tell like my boss that I report to because sometimes he rubs people the wrong way. He has a style that clashes sometimes with people, and oftentimes he's right, but it's his approach sometimes that can get in the way. And I think it's beneficial to him if I'm just honest and say, look, I'm hearing people talk behind your back. I don't support it. I don't think it's right. But the reality is that because you're in a higher position than them, they're not going to come to your face and tell you.
And you're
Right.
ultimately doing.
And I think it's not helping you. So you may want to think about, this is my advice. It's just like, you may want to think about adjusting your tactics or have conversations with people. Figure out a way to make it work. Figure out a way to make this relationship work.
And
Because if this many people are if you're creating this much friction, then it's something that you're doing too. It's not just those other people.
So you're going ultimately up to your boss and having this interaction with them for the safety of other people. So again, you're shouldering and you're burdening other people's safety and
Because I just want to, I just
and emotions on yourself. You feel like you have the responsibility to gatekeep.
Well, I am but I mean, maybe it's, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just want.
I mean, you tell me.
I just want this to be the best possible place it is to work. And so when I see this kind of stuff happening, it bothers me. I need to say something.
You need to carry that on your back.
I guess I do. And I know a lot of people that don't. A lot of people keep to themselves. They're in their own silos.
And you wish.
I'm not that kind of person. I will get involved.
And you wish other people were.
I wish other people would speak up. I wish they would get more involved. But everyone's personality is different. That's the challenge.
And that's frustrating because you want other people to be as open as you are.
Yeah, and I realize I can't make them do that. There's obviously a lot that's out of my control as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the best, again, going back to the feelings that I feel of being left out of conversations, not liking that in general, and feeling like people are talking behind my back. I'm not sure what to do about it. It's weird. It's it's fascinating to me. I'm sure you've thought about this, but it's fascinating. Obviously, some people are not self-aware. Obviously, I'm a little more self-aware in the sense that I'm aware of the irrational feelings. It's funny how human beings could be self-aware, like they're aware that they have irrational feelings, but they're powerless. They can't do anything about it.
You just can't shake it off.
They can't shake it off.
Yeah.
What the hell do you do?
Do you try to fight that irrational thought when it does come up?
I do. Yeah, I try to think about something else.
I
try to put it out of my mind.
You immediately start saying to yourself, why am I thinking about this?
Yeah.
Why do I think that these people are talking negatively?
Yeah, I try to find.
Why do I? It goes to immediately the most.
It takes sometimes what I need to do is actually just walk away. Like I'll literally walk to the other side of the building or sometimes I'll just even walk outside for a sec, just for a breath of fresh air.
So you hate the fact that you're thinking.
Oh, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I have to do something different to kind of distract.
Why do you hate it? Why do you hate that you have those thoughts?
Because
what's so scary about it? What's so sinister about having those thoughts?
Yeah, because I don't like fakeness. I guess that's that's part of it. Like I don't like when people pretend to like you when they put on a show.
And by two people talking.
Like if you don't like me, just tell me to my face. And don't pretend. Don't have this fake smile and pretend that everything's okay. Pretend that you're
and
that
two
we're
people
friends.
talking 25 feet away from you just to them amongst themselves is them being fake. And
it kind of
about you.
Yeah, even if they're actually not talking about me, there's this like fakeness, because then if they are talking about, their boss, they're the person they report to, when that guy walks in, they're like, hey, how's it going? They're pretending like they're friends, and I just like, you're just lying. You're pretending to be someone that you're not. You're pretending to like this person. I get it that they're your boss, but a part of me thinks like, how can you just go around on a day-to-day basis thinking like that? How can you operate like that? How can you And maybe that's what causes people to be bitter and become kind of burnt out in their jobs, right? And become kind of just like they're collecting a paycheck, going through the motions, right? Maybe that's why, is because they're faking their way through that job on a day-to-day basis too. So that goes through my head.
But you still don't completely know what they're talking about. These are just assumptions.
Not always. A lot of it is just assumptions, right? Just irrational thoughts.
You see what I'm trying to do, though? I'm trying to make you...
You're trying to make me think hard about why it is that I feel
because
this way.
Inherently, two people talking 25 feet away from you, just between themselves, that doesn't justify that they're talking shit about you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're just talking about breakfast.
Right.
Or what they had for dinner last night. It automatically jumps to Alex is a piece of shit. He's a weirdo. He sucks at his job.
It does. Usually, yeah. Yeah. Unless I can actually hear what they're talking about, then I don't worry about it. But yeah. That's true.
And then the few times that you did intervene and walk by and eavesdrop about what they're talking about, it's
every time it was about
come out
someone
that
else.
they weren't talking about you, and it had
nothing to do with me.
The reason why I asked you, do you hate the fact that do you hate the thoughts when they come up? Why do you hate them? Don't hate them. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's irrational. I mean, you have
maybe that's the first step.
Yeah,
you're right. It's be more gentle.
It's neither rational or irrational. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you just notice it and acknowledge that this thought is coming up for you, and just thinking of it as a drop of water on a leaf that starts fading away and going into the wind. Like, think of a thought as that. It's just a leaf that rips off a branch. And
like, not ascribe meaning. You're saying don't ascribe meaning to every.
Don't ascribe meaning to
every possible thought that you have at every point of the day.
Right.
Because it's gonna make you crazy.
The thought itself isn't inherently good or bad. It's just a thought is a thought.
Yeah.
How you interpret it and what you ascribe to it, like you said,
you're right,
makes it becomes self-deprecating or not.
Sure.
So when the next time you do see people talking amongst themselves without you, and the thought does come up, think of it as, that thought is coming up, and it's just a thought. It doesn't really hold any power over you. There's no weight to it.
Yeah, I like that.
Because oftentimes, and I said this to Ishmael last episode, especially for men, I think we start judging ourselves. We start holding ourselves to this standard where we're not allowed to.
Right. Sometimes we make up the standard. That's the screwed up
Sometimes
part.
Sometimes we tell ourselves we're not supposed to, and we're not allowed to have irrational thoughts. Because then we start going down this rabbit hole of what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm going crazy. I'm nuts. I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have these thoughts. Where in reality, a thought is just a thought, whether it's irrational or not. And it totally could be rational. They totally could be talking shit about you. I mean, that's not out of the scope of possibility.
Yeah, and even if they are for whatever reason, I guess.
Right. It's
so what?
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, dude, don't fight the fact that you're having that thought. Really just sit with it, sit in it, and tell yourself, oh, that thought is happening. Whether it's true or not, I mean, that's out of your control.
Would you give the same advice if I said to you that I have a lot of negative thoughts just randomly throughout the day? Like, oftentimes I do. I think about death a lot. Sometimes I'll just I think I've mentioned this before and I won't get into it again. But for example, like, let's say I'm just driving and suddenly this thought pops into my head about, and like I have these like these weird thoughts about envisioning like how I'm gonna die and what people are gonna say about me and what people are gonna think about me, and like they're like these weird random thoughts that pop into my head, and I'm like racking, and then the rest of my day I'm thinking like, why am I having these thoughts? Why?
Well, not,
Why?
yeah, I mean, well, not exactly. It's the why. Why am I having these thoughts? I mean, in 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 essence, dude, it's pretty normal to think about death. It's something that's inevitable and it's gonna happen to all
But
of
then
us.
I
So
start
it's not
comparing myself.
it's not irrational by any means whatsoever to have thoughts about death. It's the meaning you give to the thought. It's the
Yeah.
fuck me, what the fuck? Why am I having these thoughts? It's the why. I shouldn't be having these thoughts. I shouldn't be thinking this. I should be thinking about work. I should be thinking about what I'm going to be doing.
That's where I definitely get tripped up.
That's
I think that's where a lot of people
loop.
get
That's
tripped
the
up.
that's
Why am I like why is this happening?
that's where people really spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Is the thought comes, but it's the
Well, you're trying
the judgment.
Yeah.
It's the judgment on the thought. That
Well, then I compare sometimes I just do these comparisons where I'll compare myself to just everybody else and think, then I come up with these other thoughts of, well, I'm the only person that has these thoughts. Or I must think about death a lot more than the average person.
something's wrong.
There's something wrong
I'm
with
a
me.
piece of shit.
Yeah, there's something wrong with me.
I shouldn't be having these thoughts.
I shouldn't be having these thoughts. There's something wrong with me.
I'm this many years old. I shouldn't be having these thoughts at this age. It's the judgment. It's the continuous.
And these are things that we're just making up. As we're creating these artificial.
We're making it up. I mean, I was doing it this morning.
Yeah.
I just woke up and I felt like shit.
Well, the time change doesn't help. You lost an hour of sleep, and then dealing with that, and then saying, "Well, I still got to get up and go do this thing."
You know what's crazy?
What?
On Friday, I literally felt burnout. Burnout really feels exactly how it sounds. I was at work and I started to heat up. My body started to heat up and my energy just dropped, but I wasn't feeling sick. It wasn't a fever of any sorts.
Yeah.
And I just told my coworker and I said, dude,
It's like when you put a piece of bread in the toaster too.
I was toast.
You're cooked.
Yeah,
you're
cooked,
over
toast,
emotionally.
expired.
You're cooked.
Cooked, expired, checked out.
Yeah.
It felt physically exactly how it sounds.
Yeah.
Burnt out.
Yeah.
Just my face started to go flush and hot, and I didn't really even know what was going on because I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel like I had the flu. And I told my coworker and I said, dude, I don't know what's going on, but I feel exactly.
Well, emotions can be a powerful thing, and your brain, like your consciousness and just the emotions you're feeling, can really put yourself into this funk where it actually becomes physical. It becomes physical. You feel fatigue.
You feel the
doctor might say there's nothing wrong with you, but you feel it.
You start feeling the label you continually tell yourself.
Yeah.
Because throughout the whole week, I kept telling myself, my God, I'm burnt out. My God, I'm burning out. My God, I'm toast. And then Friday came along and I felt like a piece of burnt toast. Quite literally, physically speaking, the symptoms were,
Yeah. It's funny how that happens.
I'm happy I came today. I'm happy I came because I was really about to just cancel. But then I said to myself, this is the journey.
Well, treating this like a job too.
Yeah. I mean,
Like this
technically
is
speaking,
serious.
It is a job now.
We're here to do something serious. There's intentionality behind it. I know that that's an overused term now. Intentionality behind everything. We always talk about that. You hear a lot of people talk about it, but it's true that you're trying to do something that you find. Well, first of all, I know you enjoy doing this, but you're trying to do something that you feel not only that you find.
This feels productive for me, man. Honestly, this feels productive.
That you find productive, that gives your life meaning, and that you find that you get value out of this. But I think also you're trying to do something that you hope other people will find this valuable. And so you got to take that seriously. And I
Yeah.
think, but I think it deserves a level of respect. To respect this process, to show up. If you say you're going to do something, show up and do the job.
And the privilege to be able to
And the
have
privilege
this
to be able to do
space
it.
and financially being privileged enough to be able to provide and pay you.
Right.
Right. I have the privilege to do it. So I feel like I have this obligation to be here every
And most
week.
people would not be able to do that.
Right. And I just like being here, man. It's a creative space. I feel productive. Like I said, it feels.
Do you ever feel that doing this is almost like a research lab in a way? Like you're just experimenting, you're just working through stuff.
I
like, do you feel like you're even learning a little bit more about yourself as a person too, about how, like, your strengths and weaknesses and how you communicate with people?
Dude, I've talked to my therapist about the podcast and just the mere fact of being present while we're talking right now, and just how to stay in the moment and really actively listen to you. I mean, it's
because you've been pretty open about your life and your anxiety and your feelings on many subjects. And I know in previous episode with Aaron Johnstone, who's a therapist, he even complimented you, and he said, it's pretty interesting that you have these feelings, but then you're willing to be very public, out in the open about it, and do this thing in front of people, in front of cameras, and put this out into the world, which is really, you think that would kind of rub up against with like your life and how you feel, but you're willing to put it out there, which is kind of brave in a way too, which most people would probably look at that and go, oh geez, I'm not doing that. There's no way in hell I'm putting a camera in front of myself and talking about my issues.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. I think on the mental health subject, going back to one thing you've talked about, even off camera, is I think it's good that you're doing this kind of stuff. Wouldn't this world be better if we all actually didn't bottle up our problems, shove it down, shove those, like what society says about men? It's gotten better now, but for the longest time, previous generations, our parents and their grandparents be like, no, suck it up, be a tough guy. Men don't show emotion. Men don't cry. Especially men, some men still say, don't cry in front of women. Don't show your emotional side. I think that's utter fucking horseshit. I think this whole world would probably have a lot less war, a lot less killing, a lot less horrific stuff happening if we all just communicated with each other better. Let's talk about our problems. Let's work through our problems. Let's be more open with each other, right? I think the fact that we are more divided because we want to stay in these silos, it's us versus them, this tribalistic, we're fighting this tribalistic aspect of our psyche, of our humanity. I just feel like it's good that we're talking about. Let's get it out in the open. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how much we don't like each other.
That and just being creative, man. I think it's always
well, that too. Creativity is I think a underappreciated thing.
Yeah, I find tell me if this is weird, but I find talking and listening a skill now. It's not something I just naturally do as a human being. I look at it as a toolkit that I need to continually polish and sharpen.
I do too. Big time.
Whereas before it was just something that was a part of me, something that was just happening.
Yeah.
But that also adds another set of pressures and another set of goals and checkpoints that I need to accomplish, right? Because as soon as you start, because skills are something that you need to continually work at to just get better at.
Of course.
Right? Prior to starting the podcast and getting into therapy, it just talking and listening was just talking and listening just as a natural, quote unquote normal human being. But now that it's becoming a craft, there is an extra set of like I said, expectations and pressures and standards that I put on myself on how well I am communicating, how well I am actively listening and responding and guiding the conversation. Right? Which that's a whole other can of worms, and now I have to work through that. And that's a lot of the discussion I have with my therapist when I go and see him.
Okay.
It's becoming a job. It
Yeah.
is my job, quite literally the job I'm in right now, and my day job, the podcast, and my future career. So and what do you think of that? Do you get what I mean
Yeah,
by
I do.
that?
Yeah, I do.
Because before it was just like, yo, man, what's up? You know, talking to friends and family. It just wasn't really something I even thought of when I was talking. I just said whatever with any type of word.
Yeah,
and-
I think interviewing, doing these types of interviews, when you're having these conversations, makes you a better communicator. In the sense that you communicating with people, but also I think you're improving yourself. You become more
selective with the words you.
but also
pick.
you become, I think, also more self-aware of
How do you become more self-aware?
I think you become more self-aware of your own behavior, right? Because we're recording stuff. So I think when you're looking at your performance, you know, like, and I always pick apart what I do on camera and how I talk, and I think I definitely have become a better communicator over the years, and I've become more self-aware as I learn how I interact with people, because I'm having to do these interviews, and by becoming a better listener and a better communicator, you learn a little bit more about yourself too. I really believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be willing to be uncomfortable with critiquing yourself, critiquing your own performance. You know, looking at what you're looking at your body work and go, oh, why did I do that? Why did I step all over that person? Why didn't I just shut my mouth and listen?
But the difficulty I have, Alex, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to understand this, but it's hard for me to shut off podcast mode even after I leave. So it bleeds into my daily interactions and relationships with coworkers, family.
What does that mean, podcast mode?
Right now we're in podcast mode.
Okay.
We are talking naturally. I mean, this is completely natural, but there is a performance piece to it. And sometimes it's hard to turn that off and go back to just mindless.
Yeah. So what does that
Thinking
what
and
does that
talking.
mean to you? Is that a negative thing? Is it a positive thing? Does it
It's
what does that really mean to you?
I mean, you don't know. It doesn't feel comfortable to be in performance mode all the time.
Yeah. Do your friends say anything about it?
No.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about it.
Right.
So, for example, tomorrow, if I'm
I can
talking to my
relate.
coworker,
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
I'll quite literally picture a mic in front of them and a mic in front of me, and I'm thinking about this space and how it would be like if we were in this room right now.
I could see that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's a bit weird.
I've talked to a lot of people that have.
It's unsettling because I want to be able to turn off performance mode. I mean, and I'm not saying this is complete performance.
I don't think you're going to be able to though. The other show that I do, my co-host, I mean, spent decades working as a DJ in broadcasts on the radio. He can't shut that off. Anywhere he goes, he's got his voice is radio voice everywhere, and he can't shut that off. And just the way he communicates with people.
Wow.
Like,
and he's okay with that. There's nothing
because
unsettling about it.
No, he goes, there's nothing I can do because I spent years doing this, and this is just how I am. This is me now. It's a new me.
Wow.
Yeah.
and people don't find it to be
Sometimes
awkward or
it's funny. He's actually said a few times. Sometimes his friends will notice if he goes to a restaurant that he's kind of dominating because he was this performance. He was a bit of a celebrity on the radio in that local market that he was working. His face was on bus stops and magazine covers. He was pretty well known. And so sometimes people feel like he's kind of dominating, using that sort of celebrity, that performative aspect to kind of dominate the scene, right? So that's a feather in his cap. But he kind of likes it. Yeah. He kind of likes it.
But they don't look at him as him being disingenuous.
No, they see it as just like, oh, he's doing his thing, but they notice it.
Have you seen him when he's not in that mode where he just completely switches up?
Well, no, because we do this show remotely. He lives in the U.S. I've never actually met him in person, like in real life. I've never met him other than just talking to him on Zoom. So, but no, he tells me these stories. So his friends notice, which is really interesting. But I don't think it's a bad thing.
So you're telling me this is the life I've chosen and that this is something I need to be able to live with?
The last 4 years that we've been doing this, you've grown a lot as a person. I think you're a better communicator, and that's all that matters. That's all.
Do you really think so?
I really think
real.
So. I do. 100%. I think you are a way better listener. Right? I think even if you go back and listen to those early episodes, I think you allow yourself to really just listen to people more instead of interrupting them, and you know when to interrupt, because that's part of what you need to do. That's your job as a host, knowing when to interject, right?
Yeah, I'm starting to not take shit from guests. And by what I mean by not take shit is just let them take over the conversation.
Exactly.
And be hesitant.
And I've told you about this before. You cannot let people. It's your show.
I say what I. This is my show.
This is your show. You need to control the situation. You need to control the situation. You can't let people step all over you.
I need to talk to my therapist this week.
And it's people, and it's not that some people want to dominate the conversation. If it's a bad guest, if they don't have much to say, if they're quiet and they're not giving you much, it's your job as the host to steer that ship in the direction you want. And sometimes that means just ending things quicker. Knowing when to cut it off, just cut people off, right? But anyways, I think without going too long into that, I think you have become a better communicator.
Buddy.
I think that's all that matters.
Turn off podcast mode. Turn off podcast mode. Come on, Mo.
Do you need to?
You
turn
know what
off
it is,
podcast
also,
mode?
man. I think there's this little barrier, very very soft barrier, where I do know that I am in the field of therapy and I am working with youth, so there is a bit of a restraint. I feel like there's a leash, like I'm ready to just snap, and someone's just holding them back. But if I will tell you this,
okay,
if for whatever reason, oh my Lord, if for whatever goddamn reason this therapy thing goes to shit, whether I get kicked out or fired or I just get completely boycotted by the College of Physicians in counseling.
Well, that's pretty extreme.
If that ever happens,
I think you'll find your way.
I
think you'll find your way.
Not holding back on a lot of things. Let's just say I'll be way more willing to say things that are.
All right.
Do you think I hold back? Do you think I restrain myself in many ways?
When? In interviews?
In podcasting just now. From when I walk in the door and I'm talking to you as a friend, Alex and Mo, to when we have the episode and then post episode.
I don't think so, but you're definitely crafting a conversation. In the sense that
I'm being fake?
No.
You think I'm being
I
fake,
think you're being real, but I think you're being
fake. I don't want to be fake.
I think you're still I think you're crafting a conversation, which is good, and I think that you are being careful too, because you want to protect yourself, and I think also the guests too.
And that's what I mean. If everything does go to shit at some point, I don't care about protecting myself anymore.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
Enjoy your 24, man. Always a good time. I'm happy I came in. I was so close to canning it. I just didn't. There's something in me that you know, when the juices aren't flowing and the gears aren't turning.
I'm glad I did this too, honestly, because I wanted to take a nap, but I feel energized now.
I want energy now.
Last thing I will say on this, I think there's something to this where you feel tired. You may not want to, whatever it is you want, you feel like you're dragging yourself out of bed. You feel like you don't want to do whatever it is. You didn't want to go to the gym. You didn't want to do that job, whatever it is. But there's something so satisfying when you push through that and you get through it. Like how I just felt right now of getting through. Like I wanted to take a nap. The time change screwed me up. But like now I feel better, and I'm glad I pushed through.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that.
Absolutely. Me too.
And I feel like that's something that is a great perspective to have, I think, in life, to push through uncomfortable moments, to get out of your comfort zone, because nobody did anything of value.
It's when you do it on the days that you don't want to do it.
If you just play it safe all the time, what I'm saying.
It's also it matters the most on days when you really don't want to do it. And I will be honest with you, I really didn't want to do it. I even messaged my mom saying, "Hey mom, can I come over? Do you have any food at
You didn't want to cook.
At 9:30 a.m.
You were feeling,
and I was about to text you after and be like, "Hey man, can we just can it? I just don't really feel like it." And then I said to her, "Actually, wait, I will come later," because I just flipped the switch.
You're like, I'm doing this.
I just feel productive. Honestly, I feel more productive. I feel like
do you
I
feel
did a
like
productive thing.
Do you feel like the rest of the day is going to be better for it now?
Yeah. If I don't do anything for the rest of the day, I can look back on my morning and say that
you did something of value.
Forget about whether this episode is quality or not. The fact that I pushed through the feelings of really not wanting to do it and getting myself to Port Coquitlam on a Sunday morning in this pouring rain.
Horrible day with weather.
God awful day.
Horrible.
One of the worst.
You look outside and you're like, I really don't want to be outside.
There's something to be said about that. I will pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah.
Enjoy 24.
All right.
Thanks, man.